Hey, what's up guys? My name is Sal, and this is another expedition log. Today we're visiting another gray ghost in suburban Pennsylvania, built by the legendary Crown American Development Company, on behalf of David Javitch, who founded the giant food store chain. This mall began its life as a simple strip mall, then being transformed in its teenage years, enclosed into Crown American's Little Prince, and slowly chipped away at over the years to what you will see is left today. As always, I hope you're all well. It looks like some states are beginning to trend upward in COVID-19 hospitalizations again, so please take precautions and stay safe. We're not out of the woods yet. And since we can't visit malls confidently just yet, today, come take a walk with me through the Point at Carlisle Plaza. But first, a word from our sponsor, a movie that portrays beach life with bazookas and bulletproof snakes. And I have no idea what this movie is really about. So for your consideration, I give you a 1987 B-movie spectacle, Hard Ticket to Hawaii. Enjoy.
Run these two guys in their boat through the shredder and feed them to the fish.
Oh, this thing weighs a ton. Well, here's the care and feeding manual.
Jade, see these hands? These hands are lethal weapons.
We got some nutcase in front of us.
Man, he must be smoking some heavy doobies.
Move it, Aaron. They're just up ahead.
Have no mercy. Kill them all.
Where the hell did that snake come from?
Well, Mr. Chang,
I'd say it's all over.
In a pig's ass.
In 1923, David Javitch opened a small two-man butcher shop / meat market in Carlisle, Pennsylvania, but would quickly expand his business, opening multiple new grocery stores. By the early 1960s, he was looking for a partner in building a new strip mall to accompany his business, and on August 1st, 1962, he had teamed up with the Johnstown-based Crown Construction Company to build their outdoor shopping center at the site of his Carlisle food market. David Javitch would grow his business over the years, which would eventually become the giant food grocery store chain as we know it today. But remember that fact for later in the episode. Javitch spent just over $250,000 purchasing land and buildings on the site for which the strip mall and food market were meant to be built, including the Albion Mansion, which was treasured in the Carlisle community for years. It took just over 2 years to clear the land and build the structure. The strip mall was named the Carlisle Plaza and cost just over $3 million to build. It had its grand opening and ribbon cutting ceremony on September 17th, 1964, with the Town and Country department store serving as its anchor, alongside David Javitch's Carlisle Food Market, operating under the Giant Food umbrella. The community loved these strip malls in the 60s, but enclosed malls were beginning to take hold on the nation, and developers wanted to take advantage of reformed tax laws, which incentivized rapid amortization or accelerated depreciation. I went into more detail on this in ExLog 62, where I discussed the history of Toys R Us and the center at Glen Burnie. Make sure to give that episode a watch if you haven't already. On January 16, 1969, the first plans were announced to redevelop and enclose the plaza, to bring an enclosed shopping mall to Carlisle. This mall would take nearly a decade to materialize, however.
Try us on for big savings store-wide. Come on, try the Bonton anniversary sale. Try us on for stepping out and stepping up, for turning heads and second looks. Try us on for your favorite weekend wear, for the look that fits your style, for the value that feels right, for everything you need. Try the Bonton anniversary sale. Starts Thursday.
The next mention of enclosure wasn't until January 28, 1974, when Crown American developers, formerly Crown Construction, formally announced that they would be demolishing the Carlisle Plaza and building a new enclosed shopping mall on its site. Crown American set the opening time frame for the fall of 1976, but announced no plans on who would be the senior anchor. They would meet tense opposition from city councils on building permits due to the strains a new mall would place on the existing sewer systems, and as a result, Crown American would withdraw their request for building permits temporarily due to a sewage expansion ban, waiting for the city to get a new sewage plant built by way of an Environmental Protection Agency grant. On August 11, 1975, the developers began demolition on the site to make the pad ready for construction, working around the few open stores. By August 19th, a deal was nearly reached on how to handle the sewage issues, but Crown American fell under scrutiny when they offered the state many small monetary gifts, with the intent on the state using the money to fix the sewage issues. Most saw this as a bribe, and the money was returned promptly. However, their tenacity prevailed, and they were given permits to begin construction on December 11, 1975. They started immediately, which isn't normal, given the complexity and difficulty involved with winter construction. They worked around the clock to build the mall, pouring cement in sub-zero degree conditions, and building temporary walls which were used to deflect the heat from portable space heaters to make the cement dry faster. As they worked through the beginning of spring, they set the opening for some time in May. The stores that remained open during construction worked alongside the construction crew to bring them all to life, and finally on May 1st, 1976, the Carlisle Plaza had its grand opening, with the existing yet remodeled Town and Country department store serving as anchor. Crown American had wanted to bring another anchor to the space, and was in talks with a few different department stores. They finally struck a deal later in '76, and by February 2nd, 1977, a Bonton would enter the mall as the second senior anchor. And the Bonton that you're seeing right now, this is exactly as it looked. This is an original Bonton facade, and they're super rare to see, especially now that the company is no longer in operation. The same week the Bonton opened, a massive 8-by-40-foot mural was unveiled at 9:30 a.m. on Friday, February 4th, lining the wall of the mall concourse depicting the entire history for the city of Carlisle. Son of former President Eisenhower, Brigadier General John Eisenhower was present to premiere the half-ton piece of art. You'll see the mural a bit later in the episode. Today it's covered by clear plastic that makes it pretty tough to film from an angle, but you'll get a glimpse. So nearly the day Bonton came on board at the Carlisle Plaza Mall, the Town and Country store began seeing a sharp decline in traffic and a huge loss in sales. They simply couldn't compete, and as a result, they closed on April 30th, 1977. In its place, just 3 months later, a Kmart would open on July 28th. In March of 1978, it was announced that a JCPenney would be coming to the mall, occupying a 40,000 square foot department store, which was to be built for them. By June, just 3 months after the announcement, the building was under construction, yet at the time, Orange Julius was taking out ads in the Carlisle Sentinel, stating that alongside the Bonton and Kmart, a JCPenney was already open at the mall. They goofed, but they kept running that ad for months. 1 year after the Pennies was announced, the $478,000 building was finished, and JCPenney had its grand opening on March 14th, 1979. Through the 80s, just like most rural malls, the Carlisle Plaza Mall thrived, existing alongside its only competition in the area, which was the MJ Carlisle Mall. However, into the mid-90s, the MJ Carlisle Mall was being demolished, and the rural malls around the country were slowly turning into the gray ghosts that we see today. On Thursday, April 27, 1995, it was announced that a brand new Kmart would be coming to South Middleton Township, costing over $3 million and sprawling over 200,000 square feet, which would completely dwarf the Carlisle Plaza Mall location.
Attention Kmart shoppers. We don't like this location no more, so we're gonna move the store down the street to a much bigger location, a lot bigger, more expensive, so we're just gonna close up shop here if you don't mind. There's gonna be one final blue light special in aisle 6 on Vaporwave. The entire genre. Everybody's using it these days. Go get it while it's hot. Thank you.
So the Kmart at this mall closed on April 17th, 1996. However, all employees were offered jobs at the new location. 6 days after the Kmart closed, the outparcel Giant Food, opened by David Javich, closed on April 23rd. These two stores closing were massive blows to the mall. And 1 year later, an Office Max would take over the former Giant Food building, opening on October 23rd, 1997. But 2 months after the Office Max came in, the JCPenney closed on December 27th. Right now we're standing in the section of the mall where the Kmart used to be. And obviously, it's not here any longer. But rather, this rad Mexican restaurant is here. I always love to go to these unique one-off restaurants that I've never seen before, so I can try something that small businesses in the locales for these malls offer. This Nito Burrito location was fantastic. I had one of their carnitas bowls. I'm not sure if it's still there today. The owners expressed some resentment at being inside of this mall because it's so dead. Let me know down in the comments if it's actually still there. And if it is, make sure to go visit. Really great place. Crown American flirted with multiple anchors in an attempt to fill the empty JCPenney space. Among these were Far More and Sears. At the time, there was a Sears portrait studio and a Sears surplus store at the mall, so a deal to secure Sears as an anchor got pretty far, but ultimately, the deal would fail. As the Carlisle Plaza Mall traversed the new millennium, it would decline even further. The JCPenney and Kmart spaces remained vacant, with the Penny's building serving in 2002 as the site for a job fair, which must have been pretty embarrassing for mall management, who were only able to fill their anchor space with high school students looking for summer work. It was also around this time that rumors began circulating of a possible new home improvement store being built at Carlisle. The community wasn't a fan of this idea, since a Home Depot was already announced just south of Carlisle along 81. And they wanted a more traditional retail anchor space to serve their ailing mall. Seems like a pretty good time to unload the mall and get out, if you ask me, which is exactly what happened. In November 2002, the Michael Joseph Development Corp. Purchased the mall from Crown American for $5.8 million and immediately announced plans to demolish the old JCPenney building, along with its concourse, effectively cutting the mall in half in what would be a $4 million endeavor. They demolished the JCPenney and Kmart buildings, along with a bit of mall concourse. They installed a new facade and roofing, along with a brand new Lowe's home improvement store, where the two former anchors, JCPenney and Kmart, once stood. The event was commemorated on February 5th, 2004, with your typical grand opening ceremonies and a soft opening. However, instead of the traditional ribbon-cutting event that usually occurs at most big-box dedications, at Lowe's, they do a board cutting, where they saw through a board to memorialize the day. That's pretty cool. Lowe's opened fully the next day on February 6th. The rest of the mall renovations weren't yet completed, however, due to harsh winter conditions causing delays to the new mall entrance, and a soft opening was held for the inline tenants. These guys weren't Crown Construction. They didn't know how to work in the winter. The mall had its grand reopening on April 12, 2004, sporting a new look and rebranded as the Point at Carlisle Plaza, opening its doors back up to shoppers where most of the upgraded appearances were on the outside, with the interior remaining largely untouched. The occasion marked the mall's 40th anniversary, and since a large portion of the mall was demolished, and with no interior access to the Lowe's, the original mural, which we're seeing right now, of Carlisle's history was put up to decorate the drywall barrier. They were proud of this mall, despite its petite footprint, and the reopening was met with an outpouring of community support. In September of 2005, the mall changed hands yet again, when Michael Joseph Development sold the property to Port Washington, New York-based Cedar Shopping Centers, Inc. for $11 million. The mall was looking more attractive to developers since the diverse anchor lineup of Lowe's Home Improvement, Bon-Ton, and an outparcel Office Max had enough variety to bring traffic to the previously lackluster shopping destination. Then, on July 8, 2005, the mall owners announced that a Dunham's Sports would be opening at the Point at Carlisle Plaza, along the concourse at the Bon-Ton Courtyard. They planned to knock down multiple walls in former inline tenant spaces to give the sporting goods store about 22,000 square feet of space to operate. The Dunhams opened less than 3 months later on September 30th. As the years dragged on, tenants would slowly drop off. The Bon-Ton would draw folks inside on occasion, along with decent traffic from the Dunhams. The shoppers weren't patronizing the rest of the space, caused in part by the barricade erected between Lowe's and the mall interior. And by the early 2010s, tenancy at the mall was abysmal, with occupancy below 15%. The owners were struggling to pay down the principal, missing multiple mortgage payments, and were faced with foreclosure. And the note went back to the bank. But then, the chain of ownership came full circle when Giant Food Stores purchased the property for just over $7.4 million in late March 2013. The mall represented the food store's humble beginnings in Carlisle, and they wanted the property where one of their first few grocery stores existed. They wanted this to survive, and they expressed no intentions to redevelop the property. This was an incredibly valiant move by Giant, and it was purely an investment in their hometown for the community. By 2018, I showed up to find this mall in the condition that you just saw. Then on April 17th, Bon-Ton announced that they would be closing all of their 267 stores as part of their deal in bankruptcy court, liquidating all of their assets. The Bon-Ton was closed when I arrived, leaving only the Lowe's and OfficeMax as the traffic draws for the mall. By March of 2020, Joann Fabrics closed inside the mall. And on Saturday, May 16th, the OfficeMax out parcel anchor closed. The mall is effectively dead, with very little remaining inside. And after the COVID-19 crisis, I have doubts that this gray ghost will survive. I'd like to thank you all for watching my video. Producing weekly content for you all during lockdown amidst the COVID-19 pandemic has been challenging, and has certainly taken its toll on me both physically and mentally. But the experience has been rewarding, and I couldn't think of a better use of my time than producing this content for you all. I want to send a special shout out to my patrons and elite explorers who contribute directly to me, as this series is possible only because of you. Please consider subscribing to my channel if you haven't yet, and ring the bell to be notified of when I produce new content. I have plenty more tricks up my sleeve in the Quite Studios backlog, so stay tuned and be sure to follow me on all of my various social media and to join the Dead Malls of Discord server. Just download the Discord app on your computer or mobile device and click the link in my description. Thanks again for watching, everybody. Stay home if you can, stay safe, take care, and have a fantastic day.